On this episode of Let's Get Lit with BlueStar, I sit down with Alicia Hawley. Alicia and I discussed our shared love of old homes and renovating them, and through genealogy, finding out that we are not in fact Irish, we are Scandinavian, her mother's trip to Ireland, Bears versus the Packers, De Bears, the Super Bowl shuffle, and of course ending the conversation with eDiscovery trends for 2022. I'd like to thank our show sponsor, BlueStar. BlueStar are experts in litigation support, complex data solutions, compliance, data privacy, and software platforms. So grab a seat at the table and sit down with Alicia.
Welcome to Let's Get Lit with BlueStar, your destination podcast about life, eDiscovery, lit support, legal tech, and everything in between. This podcast is brought to you by BlueStar. BlueStar is an end-to-end eDiscovery and data solutions company with clients located around the globe. Now here's your host, Deirdre Sorego.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Let's Get Lit with BlueStar. I am Deirdre Sorego. I am your host. And for this week's episode, I am so excited that I have here somebody that I just truly adore, Alicia Hawley. She's an eDiscovery attorney, and I am so happy to announce she is this year's, or last year rather, 2021 Relativity's Innovation Award winner. Hey, Alicia, how are you?
That was a fun introduction. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm
you're
so
welcome.
excited to be here. Like, I was really excited when you reached out. I was excited when you told me I was the first guest that you were recording.
Yes,
I was like, that's such an honor to be the first one on this podcast ever. So I'm super excited about it. Thank you for having me.
I am super excited. Me too. I'm happy to have you. I'm so happy that you answered my email and you wanted to do it.
Ghost you.
Exactly. And it's been a while since we've talked. So it's nice to reconnect with this whole working from home and pandemic, and nobody's, doing in-person events that much anymore. So it's just nice to be able to, connect with people and see what's going on in your world. I do want to congratulate you on your new home. You're a new homeowner. Yay.
Yay.
I'm so excited
oh my gosh,
for you.
It's so crazy. So I bought, so I'll tell you the quick story about it. So I live in Uptown. I live in Chicago. I live in Uptown, which is on the far north side. And Uptown is a really historic neighborhood. It's the entertainment district, and it was the entertainment district starting in the early 1900s. So like just before the Roaring 20s, and then in the Roaring 20s. And it was, there's a lot of venues around here that did live entertainment. And then there were a lot of movie companies that had their studio sets locations here in Uptown. So there's a lot of history in this neighborhood, and I've lived here for 18 years.
Wow.
And I was in the same condo for 17 years. And every day I walk my dogs around the neighborhood, and I would walk by this one house every morning. It was like my morning walk. And all of a sudden last year I walked by one day and there was a for sale sign on the front of the house. And I was like, I immediately sprinted home and got to the MLS to look it up and was like, oh my God, I have to find out everything I can find out about this house. And I ended up buying it. And
nice.
So it's literally a block away from where I had lived for 17 years. And it's this late period Victorian house. And it's really cool. And it was renovated in the 90s. They basically upgraded it in the 90s to get the old electrical and plumbing up to modern standards or whatever. So
good. So they did the bulk of it, which is good. They did all the expensive, heavy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think I would have bought it if that hadn't been done, because that's a totally different undertaking.
Oh yeah.
I have this, it's in, knock on wood, really good condition. It was very outdated. It hadn't been updated since the 90s. And I think other buyers couldn't see past that. But for me, I was like, this is awesome.
You've got vision.
I have the vision, and I'm an artist. So I was like, I've got the vision. I can see what I'm going to do with this place. And so I've got this awesome home. And this is the neighborhood there, because the studios were right nearby. A lot of famous people in the early 1900s lived right in this neighborhood, within a couple of blocks, like Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford and Groucho Marx and Studs Terkel. They all live right around the corner from here. And this house, I found out, was a boarding house for the actors. So when they would come in and make movies up on Argyle Street, which is where all the theaters were, the production companies were, they would live at my house. And so there's all this incredible history in this house, which is awesome. And I picture the Great Gatsby parties like
Mhm.
happening at this house.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
even know if that
champagne
ever happened. Yeah,
flowing. Oh, it did. In our minds, it did. We're painting that
yeah,
picture. Oh my God, Charlie Chaplin sitting there, having champagne, and Mary Pickford's running around eating caviar.
yeah. I mean, that's like exactly what I picture in the beautiful gown, the flapper
Yeah.
dresses and the little
Oh yeah.
bedazzled headbands. I mean, I just picture that this house has some real stories to tell if it could tell stories, which I love.
Oh, if walls could only talk,
I
wouldn't that be
swear.
amazing? I
Yeah.
love old homes too. I love, homes from the 17, 18, and early 1900s. And my dream is to just go and buy one and completely restore it with modern amenities, of course, like kitchens and
Yeah.
bathrooms. But all the hardware and all the woodwork, trying to keep that true to the historic times. Let me ask you this: do you have a wooden staircase?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
so
So the
jealous.
one thing that is completely 100% original in this house, there have been no modifications, is the staircase, and it's a
Ah,
3-story house. So if you
oh,
stand at the it's a 3-story house, but it's actually 3.5 because the entrance is down.
oh
So
wow.
if you stand at the bottom and look up, it's like 4 stories of
I
this
hate you.
wooden.
I hate
Oh
you.
my God, I know.
Podcast is
It's
over. I'm so jealous.
it's really, really cool. It's
Oh
really cool.
wow.
And just thinking about, the stories. I always think about like the
Yeah,
stories
the
of it.
people
So,
walking
oh
up
my
all of
gosh.
those
Yeah,
flights, like,
it's so cool.
oh,
Do you watch Cheap Old Houses on
yes.
HGTV? I think it's
Yes. I
HGTV.
follow
Yeah.
her also on Instagram.
Yeah. When you were talking about like the old houses that you like, I started watching. That's actually how I figured out exactly what because my house, it's definitely late period Victorian, but it wasn't 100% clear like when I first moved in. So she actually like helped me figure it out with some of the features in the house, like to figure out what it was. So
Oh,
I
I'm
love
so
that show.
jealous. Nice. So now you grew up in Chicago and then also grew up in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was
So,
born in Illinois and then I grew up in Wisconsin outside Milwaukee.
now, and you're also, which sports teams are you going to go? Packers or Bears?
Yeah, so this gets me into a lot of trouble. So I moved to Wisconsin when I was 8. And I spent the rest of my formative years there until I went to
Hmm.
college. And but I'm a Bears fan. So I was born into a Bears family. I am not a Packers fan. I have great disdain for the Packers.
You realize you just lost about 100 followers on LinkedIn.
Everyone's like, quick, unfollow. Yeah, I get so much heat from my friends from Wisconsin about it. It's a good rivalry that we have. It's been challenging in modern football history to be a Bears fan instead of a Packers fan because the last 20 years has not been kind to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, we were great. so yeah, I'm a big Bears fan.
I remember, and oh my God, I'm not a big football fan. Sorry, everybody. But so I probably might be getting this incorrectly, but who sang didn't the Bears have like a shuffle
Well,
song?
shuffle.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
can
I
sing part of
remember
it.
that. I
My
remember
name
that.
is Sweetness, and I like to dance, running the balls like making romance. That was Walter Payton's little part of it. I mean, the Super Bowl shuffle. That was
The
the
Super Bowl
85-86
shuffle.
Bears.
Do, do, do,
Yeah.
do. I remember
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
And the fridge, right?
The fridge,
The
number
fridge.
72.
Oh
Yep.
my God, look at you. You are a Bears fan.
The fridge. Yeah.
Da Bears. Da
The
Bears.
funny thing about the Bears, I grew up, I was a dancer. I grew up training with a professional ballet company. And one of the things I loved so much about the 80s Bears is
Mhm.
that they took ballet classes. Yeah,
Nice.
because it helped with ballet, it helps
Yeah.
with your balance and your
Hmm.
discipline and muscles that you don't otherwise, get to really utilize. And so they took dance classes, they took ballet classes, and they used to talk about how it helped them with some of their muscle training and some of the balance
And also
and
dancing in the Super Bowl shuffle video.
and then so they could make a world famous Super Bowl
Super
shuffle
Bowl
video.
shuffle video, right? And then for those of you who were not born in the 80s,
Oh God.
you guys have to YouTube it just for,
Yeah.
just for fun to see what us old people are talking about with the Super Bowl
Yeah.
shuffle.
Yeah, the Super Bowl shuffle. I love it.
Oh my God. So are you a White Sox or a Cubs fan?
Oh my God. So I get in trouble here too because I live on the north side, but I'm a White Sox fan. I was born into a White Sox family. And so I have very strong feeling. My feelings for the Cubs are actually stronger, I think, in a lot of ways than my feelings for the Packers. Like I won't even go to Wrigley Field unless the Cubs are playing the White Sox. Like I won't step foot into Wrigley. So I have like very strong feelings about the White Sox and the Cubs.
Well,
Yeah.
I can sort of relate because I'm born and raised in New York, and one would think I'm a Yankees fan, but no, I'm actually a Boston fan.
Oh, they don't like that there.
Oh my God, everyone in New York hates me. I can just see the numbers. I'm getting unfollowed right now. Hate mail is coming in.
She said that thing about the Red Sox.
Exactly. Dude, we were kind of interested in hearing you, but now I'm turning you off because I'm very upset. Yeah, and then all the Bostonians are like, "Oh, New Yorker who's a Boston fan. I don't trust you. I don't know." I'm like, "No, I swear to God, I don't trust you." No, I'm like, no, I swear to you, I love the Celtics, the Bruins, the Red Sox, and the Patriots. I'm a total turncoat, but I love Boston. Boston's a great city. Of course, I love my hometown. New York, it's a great city as well. But I would live in
What part of
Boston
New
in a
York
heartbeat.
did you?
I grew up a little bit on Long Island and a little bit on the Upper East Side. So
Nice.
I'm like what do you call it? The Osmond, family. I'm a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock and roll, as I call it. A little bit of Donnie, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Long Island is really suburban, and
it is.
There are parts
You'd
that
be
are
surprised.
rural. Yeah.
Very. Yeah. Yep. I mean, all the way out east, you can go, you've got, it kind of inches its way into the boroughs. You go into, Queens and Brooklyn, which is populated. And then you kind of go into like the suburbs, and then it thins out as you hit the fishtail of the island, because it's the shape of a fish. So as you get out to the points of the fishtail, that it's very desolate out there. It's great. Yeah. I mean, you can really hide out there and feel like you're in the country. But I wanted to talk a little bit about genealogy. I don't know if you have any interest in it, but I know that we are similar, if not the same sort of genetic makeup, in a sense of heritages. I am Italian and Dutch, which I know you are not, but I believe we both have Irish, Scottish, and English in us. So I'm thinking maybe we're related. If
of course.
You never
We're
know.
all related somehow. Yeah, I'm sure our genealogy trees match up at some point. Yeah, so I have some. So there's like this class. If you're from Wisconsin, you're probably Irish and German. That's just like how it goes. So if you're from Wisconsin or parts of Illinois, and other parts of the Midwest, you're Irish and German. That's the story we tell. We're all Irish and German. Irish Fest, German Fest in Milwaukee. Those are huge deals because everybody's Irish and German. And so that's my family history, is we're Irish and German, and my name is English. So there's like some smattering of English somewhere because my last name is English, but that's who we are. We've got a lot of German, like real German names in our family and real Irish names in our family. So the story makes sense. Well, my mom, and the story made sense until we started to do a little research. And then the story started to fall apart. So my mom had a bucket list, item on her bucket list where she wanted to go to Ireland, where our family's from. Her last name's Kendall, and it was originally O'Kindle, which is obviously very Irish. And her family came over, however many hundreds of years ago, and changed it to Kendall, like many do when they get to Ellis Island. And so my mom went to Ireland, this big, dream trip that she'd always wanted to take. And we're from County Cork. And so she went to County Cork, to the clerk's office. So a lot of people do that. And she has all this information that she's got dumped her family records like onto the clerk's table. And she says, "I'm Irish, I'm from County Cork, and my family history is from here. And I wanted to see what information you can give me about my family, because it doesn't, we don't go as far back as I'd like to. I'd love to learn, where we used to live and all this stuff." She's asking all these questions. She's like, "Okay, let me go figure it out." So he goes back into his records thing, and he comes back a very, very long time later, like an uncomfortable amount of time later. And he comes back and he says, "Ma'am, you're Scottish."
What?
It's like, excuse me? And our entire family history went down the toilet in that one moment, because we're not Irish at all. We are not from County Cork. We are apparently Scottish. And so after that, debacle went down, and everything that I ever knew was a lie. I decided to do the ancestry DNA test, and found out that indeed I am not Irish, even though I still have a tendency to say that I am, because it's been so ingrained in me. But I'm not Irish at all. I am Scottish and German and English, and Scandinavian.
Oh,
So the
nice.
Scandinavian was like a big surprise to us. I'm like
Yep.
20-some% Scandinavian, which no one has ever said that we were, nobody in my family has ever claimed to be Scandinavian in any way, shape, or form. But I have very, very light skin and dark hair. I mean, it makes some sense that I would be Scandinavian, and I love cold weather.
Yep.
So
And
it makes
also
some sense.
being from where you are, so many
Yes.
Scandinavians, when they came over, they, were either in, a lot of them went to New York and Pennsylvania, but then they ventured on to the Midwest, like Milwaukee, that whole Wisconsin,
Yep.
Minnesota,
Minneapolis. Yeah, Minnesota has huge
huge Scandinavian
population. Yep.
Yeah. And it's so weird because when you and I have like almost the same thing, we did our genealogy. I'm not Irish at all. My grandmother's maiden name was Lafferty. That was her stepfather. So she had no Irish DNA wise. And we always thought, Margaret Lafferty, we always thought she was Irish. She's not. She is actually Swedish, Danish, English, and Scottish. And on my dad's side, on my dad's side, it is Italian. And my mom, who's Margaret's daughter, my mom so on my mom's side, I'm Dutch, English, Scottish, Swedish, and Danish. My dad's side, I'm Italian. But my DNA, when I did it on 23andMe and Ancestry, it pulled up from Spain and from Portugal, which is cool. And then I found out that I was also Swedish and Danish. We had no idea. So my sister started doing this huge, genealogy map through Ancestry and all these trees for all these different family members. And then we came to find out that I'm also Mormon. I'm not practicing. I had no idea. But my mom's side were huge, huge Mormons. And they came over with Brigham Young. And a few of my family members founded a town in New Hampshire. They also had a little stint in Salem. So I didn't realize how like Americana I was on my mom's side, and it was just really, really interesting. I love genealogy. I think it's really cool. You and I both had no idea that we were Scottish or Swedish or Norwegian for you. It's very interesting. But
town in New Hampshire named after your family?
No, my sister has the whole entire thing, all mapped out. I have to ask her what the town is. Oh, they also founded a town in Canada because they went from New England over to Canada and then from Canada went down. So that's why my mom is Canadian. I know it's like this whole mishmash. It's just so crazy how.
I mean, listen, the more we go on in time as a society, the more we become diverse in our own lineage. That's just, it's just the nature of it. It's like, that's just how, our children and then their children and their children, everybody just has a little bit more diversity in their backgrounds.
Exactly.
Because we just continue to be like a melting pot in society.
Exactly. Nobody is one thing 100%. It's impossible. I believe it's just crazy. But what's even more exciting is eDiscovery.
Oh my God, good segue. That's perfect. Right? Let's jump right into the most exciting topic ever.
I know. Let's stop talking about, our childhood and like connecting sports. The dots. Right.
Can
and
we
like
talk about
all the fun stuff? Exactly. And beer and wine. Let's talk about eDiscovery. Let's talk about, the changes that we've seen in the past 12 years now of eDiscovery, how it's evolved and what eDiscovery is becoming. So what do you think is going to kind of be some trends that we're going to see or continue to see with this new year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a hot topic. Obviously, we're at the beginning of the year, and so everyone's talking about it, thinking about it, writing about it. And I love everything everyone is saying out there. I think everybody's pretty spot on with some of the trends in technology. The thing that comes to mind for me, I think this is more like 10,000 foot level, is for so long, judges have really tried to bury their heads in the sand when it comes to eDiscovery. I don't blame them at all, but they don't want to see disputes about eDiscovery. They have standing orders about what you have to do to try to resolve your disputes about eDiscovery before you're even allowed to bring them to the court. There hasn't been a lot of case law. There's been some, but there hasn't been a lot of case law about eDiscovery issues, just historically speaking. And that's really changing. I think in the last year, we saw a lot of cases that were very specific regarding things that are really specific technology wise. There were some cases that came down that really dug deep into some really interesting topics in eDiscovery, and that is for sure a change that we're seeing, and I think is going to continue. It used to be that there were sort of industry standards or processes that we followed, but there was a lot of wiggle room because there wasn't a ton of attention being paid to eDiscovery by the judiciary, and that really is really changing. I think we're going to see that continue to change. I think it's part by necessity. They can't turn their backs on it anymore or they can't, sort of let us figure it out ourselves as practitioners because it's becoming too big of a deal. It's becoming too critical of a piece of litigation. But I also think there are more judges who are becoming a little more savvy about it and are taking interest because they like it and they're more interested in it. There's always been, a few people here and there who are judges who took particular interest in eDiscovery, but I think that there are more. And so what that means for practitioners is we got to pay attention.
Yeah, we got to up your game.
Yeah, it's no longer like a, kind of fly by the seat of the pants, figure it out as you go kind of thing. I mean, what I really think is important that I would take away from all of this is that it's really important for firms and companies to have eDiscovery specialists and experts who that's their job, is to know what the rules are, to know what the case law says, to know what the technology is, to know how to navigate it, to know how to think about things strategically and efficiently and effectively, because it's not going away, certainly. I mean, we've been saying that for years, eDiscovery is not going away, but it's becoming more nuanced every day. It changes every day, and there's more things to consider every day because the judges are getting more involved, and that's gonna continue on the same path forward. So
and situations are changing. People are working from home now, so you're creating more highways of data that's coming in, which is altering how you're collecting, how you're preserving, and if you don't have best practices in place, sanctions, it's just this whole sort of trickle down effect that I don't think a lot of people quite understand how important it is to have all of those ducks lined up in a row and how it is to cross your T's and dot your I's. And I think I think judges are sort of getting privy to that. So they're sort of setting the bar in a sense with saying, well, listen, I need to educate. I need to actually do something about this because this is not going away. And we've got to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. I mean, I did a CLE for a client maybe a year ago, maybe. It was right before the pandemic, actually. So it was right before the world. No, that was 2 years ago. Oh my God, I don't even know that's a time makes no sense anymore.
It's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole.
I can't believe it's been 2 years. So 2 years ago, I did a CLE for a client, and I said, okay, raise your hand. There were like maybe 40 people in the room or something. And I said, raise your hand if you ever use your phone to text about work or to text with clients or, with your colleagues about work. And, probably 95% of the room raised their hand. And I said, okay, well, if there's ever litigation about one of those clients, then I'm going to have to collect your phone and get data off of that. And they were like, excuse me, you're going to what? Like, it was like, people became horrified. Like, you can't take my cell phone. And it was
like,
when you're talking about these new highways of data, I mean, that's a big one, now that we're working from home. I mean, people have been texting about clients and stuff for a long time, but people don't realize that as soon as you make your phone germane to a client or an issue, you've made your phone germane to a client or an issue, even if that relates to litigation.
Oh, sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead.
Just to sort of piggyback off that, and I really, this pandemic really threw it into the forefront because, like you said, people are using their cell phones. The people are also using their work laptops. They're using their work, their personal laptops. They're using personal or even work from home, equipment. So it's kind of strange to me that people are like, oh, you're gonna wait, you can take my phone and forensically collect on it, or my iPad, or my Apple Watch, or my iPod.
All those things.
Apple Watch, oh my gosh. Fitbits, anything that gets a text message, guess what? I'm collecting it.
if there's data on it, there's data on it. And like, that's also, of course, what makes this, part of the industry change so much. It's so driven by technology, and technology is evolving at a speed that it's hard to even keep up with. And things like Apple Watches, those, we didn't think about that a few years ago, and now we're thinking about that because you communicate on Apple Watches, or there's other data that could be relevant on an Apple Watch or on any device. I'm like, I have 2 cell phones. I have a work cell phone and a personal cell phone, and I don't commingle them. There is no commingling whatsoever, like Smart. In any way, shape, or form. And people think I'm weird, but I don't care, because I just keep those separate, because that way, if something, if there's a litigation or something and somebody's got to take my phone, it's like, great, here's my work phone. You can have it, right. Like, I'm not even worried about this at all. It's only used for work. Like, so I keep 2 phones for that reason, because I just don't commingle. And I have a work laptop and a personal laptop, and they don't get commingled. I don't even log on to like the company interface on my personal laptop. I won't do that. It's totally, completely 100% separate.
Or even Outlook, Outlook is, everybody uses Outlook. Big mistake is everybody they install the software on their personal computer, because guess what? I'm working from home and I've got to check my work email. Well, guess what? Yep. That's now
not Alicia Hawley. Alicia Hawley didn't do that.
Right, exactly. And you got to hope it's defensible too. So there's another little layer, another little trickle down effect layer. All right. Well, I could go on and on about
this podcast is 4 hours long, right?
Exactly. It is.
We can keep going forever.
We can do an intermission break for everybody to please use the bathroom and please get a refreshment from the what was that called at the movie theater? The concession stand.
Yeah.
This is your intermission break. Exactly. We will usher you to the concession stand for your Twizzlers and popcorn.
I love it.
Well, oh my God, this was so fun. I really enjoyed this past half an hour talking with you. I want to thank you again so much for being a wonderful guest as usual, because we also had you back in February for our Microsoft 365 Chats and Tar Oh My webinar.
Yeah, that was
fun.
That was one of my favorite webinars that I've ever done. I felt like it was, I don't know, everyone was in good spirits and everyone was so knowledgeable, and we all really engaged in that conversation. And I thought that the information was really helpful that everyone shared. I loved that. That was a great webinar.
That was. You can watch that on, I believe it's on YouTube, and I think it's also on our BlueStar website. So if anybody's missed that, they can always check it.
I'm sure people are going to be like clamoring to go watch that again.
Exactly. They're like, Netflix and Microsoft 365 Chats and Tar Oh My.
Yeah. Coming soon. We're eDiscovery influencers right here.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much. And you have a wonderful new year.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, and I appreciate that that you thought of me to be your guest and to be your first guest. I'm very honored.
Exactly. I am honored, and thank you for accepting.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Let's Get Lit with BlueStar, hosted by Deirdre Sorego. If you have any feedback for us, or if there's a topic you would like us to cover in a future show, please do not hesitate to reach out. We would love to hear from you. Also, please make sure to visit our website, www.bluestarcs.com, to watch all episodes and subscribe to the show on YouTube, so you'll never miss a show.